Okay, so are you ready to dive into a case that'll really get you thinking?
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
We're headed to Willow Creek.
Okay.
It's this picture-perfect town in the Pacific Northwest.
I've heard of it, yeah.
All those towering pines and a winding river. The kind of place where everyone knows their neighbor's business.
Sounds charming enough.
Oh, it is. On the surface, at least. But we're going to uncover the darkness that lurks beneath it.
Every town has its secrets, right?
This one's a doozy. The discovery of Sarah Jenkins' body in the woods totally shattered that peaceful image.
Oh, that's awful.
Hikers found her on July 15th near a hidden waterfall. And get this, her body was arranged with wildflowers placed around her.
Wow. That definitely suggests this wasn't random. It feels almost ritualistic.
Yeah, it's chilling. So who was Sarah Jenkins, and what brought her to this seemingly quiet place? Well, Sarah was new to Willow Creek. She'd only been there a few weeks. She was trying to escape a bad breakup, seeking solace in the beauty of the Pacific Northwest.
It's almost like she walked into the eye of a storm she didn't even know was brewing.
Now, Detective Clara Weston leads the investigation. She's no stranger to tragedy. She lost her husband in a hit and run. She returned to her hometown seeking peace, but got thrust into this case. It's almost like a classic setup, you know?
Yeah, the detective with the past, a town with secrets, and a victim who seemingly had no enemies.
Exactly.
Mm.
But Claire's not alone. She has a unique ally in Leela Thompson, a local college student and aspiring photographer. Leela's connection to the community gives her access to all the whispers and rumors.
Oh, those small town rumors can be gold mines.
For sure.
Yeah?
As Clara and Leila piece together Sarah's final days, some potential suspects emerge, and each one is more intriguing than the last.
Lay 'em on me.
First, we have Ryan Miller, a rugged lumberjack with a troubled past.
Oh, there's always something about those strong, silent types.
Right. Ryan kept to himself, haunted by the loss of his wife years ago. He was trying to rebuild his life, but then the rumors about him and Sarah started. Was it just friendly, or was there more?
Well, the fact those rumors even existed makes him someone to watch, right?
Then there's Becky Carter. She's practically Willow Creek royalty, not exactly welcoming to newcomers. And Sarah, with her city ways and interest in local environmental issues, definitely rubbed Becky the wrong way.
So Becky's like the old guard, wary of change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sarah's outspoken nature about logging practices ruffled some feathers.
Yeah, I can see that.
So did Becky's dislike escalate.
We've got a motive, but did she have the opportunity?
And just when you think we have our prime suspects, enter Mark Sanders, a college student fixated on Sarah.
The obsessive type, always a bit unnerving.
Exactly. Mark bombarded Sarah with messages, tried to engineer chance encounters, and became increasingly agitated when she rebuffed him.
Yeah, rejected advances can be dangerous for someone like that.
And his alibi for the day, Sarah disappeared, full of holes.
Oh, that's never a good sign.
Then, to make things even more complicated, there's Pastor David Cross.
The pastor.
Yeah. He's a picture of respectability, welcomed Sarah, offered her guidance, but whispers about a darker side had been circulating for years.
Oh, so he's got something to hide.
Rumors of inappropriate conduct, hushed-up scandals, that sort of thing.
I see where you're going with this. Did Sarah stumble onto something that threatened to expose him?
That's the question, isn't it? So there you have it. 4 suspects, each with their own secrets, their own motives. But who crossed the line? We'll have to keep digging.
This is getting good. I'm hooked.
Okay, so we've got our suspects. But to crack this case wide open, we need to look at the hard evidence.
Right. Get down to the nitty-gritty.
Let's start with the autopsy.
Makes sense. Always a good place to begin.
So the autopsy revealed Sarah died from blunt force trauma to the head. The medical examiner concluded she was probably struck from behind, and get this, no defensive wounds. She never saw it coming.
Chilling. Sounds like a planned attack. Someone who knew what they were doing.
And to make it even more eerie, the toxicology report showed trace amounts of anxiety medication in her system.
Interesting. So she might have been more vulnerable.
Now remember that mix of male and female DNA found under Sarah's fingernails?
Yeah, that was a weird one.
It threw a wrench in things initially. The male DNA didn't match any of our initial suspects.
So an unknown player was involved?
And then there were the fingerprints. Investigators found Sarah's, of course, but also another set belonging to an unidentified person. They were on a discarded lighter and an empty soda can near the body.
2 sets of unidentified prints. That complicates things.
It makes you wonder if there was more than one person involved, right? Like maybe someone helped dispose of the body or cleaned up the scene.
Possibly. But remember the soil samples? the ones that showed Sarah's body had been moved, they turned out to be a real game changer.
Dirt. How can dirt be a game changer?
Well, this wasn't just any dirt. Forensic analysis linked it to a very specific area near a popular hiking trail, like a local hangout spot.
Ah, so not just a random dumping ground. This was a place with meaning, a place she might have visited, maybe even with her killer.
Exactly. And that forced Clara to re-examine her interviews, look for any connections her suspects had to this location.
Okay, what'd you find?
Well, Ryan Miller, remember? He claimed he was working on the other side of the forest the day Sarah disappeared.
Yeah, but his alibi was pretty shaky.
Right. Relying on the word of a fellow lumberjack known to be, let's say, less than reliable.
So maybe Ryan snuck away, met Sarah at the trail, and came back unnoticed.
It's possible. And there's another thing. When Clara asked if he'd ever been to that area, he hesitated.
Hesitation's never good. It usually means they're hiding something.
Eventually, he admitted to seeing her at the grocery store the week she died, but he got all squirrely when Clara pressed him about any other encounters.
So evasive. Definitely a red flag, especially on top of his weak alibi.
Right. But Clara's thorough. She knew not to focus on just one suspect. What about Becky Carter, a protective local? Well, turns out that hiking trail cuts through an area that had been heavily logged.
Oh yeah, the area at the center of all that controversy and protest.
And Becky was not a fan of outsiders messing with Willow Creek's business.
Wow, so this location had real significance for her.
Exactly. And Sarah was digging into logging practices, maybe uncovering something illegal. Suddenly, Becky's dislike takes on a whole new dimension.
It's not just about protecting the town's image anymore. It's about protecting a secret.
A chilling thought. But we can't forget Mark Sanders either. Remember his obsession with Sarah?
Yeah, creepy.
Clara dove deeper into his online activity and uncovered some disturbing stuff.
Like what?
Mark had fake social media profiles to track Sarah's every move, monitoring her posts, her comments, everything. This wasn't just flirting, it was full-on cyberstalking.
Oh, that bad.
And it gets worse. Clara found a photo of Sarah at the lake, taken a few days before her death, and guess who's lurking in the background?
No way. Mark.
Bingo! The same lake with those incriminating soil samples.
So he put himself at the scene, watching her, planning his next move.
That's not all. Mark was active in these online forums. Let's just say they had some very disturbing views on women, especially those who rejected them. And guess who he specifically mentioned?
Sarah. I bet he was ranting about her rejecting him.
You got it. Ranting about his anger, his frustration, even hinted at wanting to hurt her.
Okay, that, combined with the lake photo, paints a really dark picture of his state of mind.
This wasn't just a crush. It was an obsession spiraling out of control.
But what about Pastor Cross? Those rumors about his past, did they lead anywhere?
Clara dug into them and found a pattern of disturbing behavior.
So it wasn't just gossip.
Several young women had come forward with similar stories. Unwanted advances, inappropriate comments, a real dark side beneath that charming facade.
And one of them left Willow Creek after confronting him about it.
Exactly. And remember Pastor Cross's alibi, those missing hours where no one could account for his whereabouts.
So we have motive, a gap in his alibi, and a pattern of behavior that screams red flag.
With that, we've got 4 suspects, each with their own secrets, their own tangled connection to Sarah's death. It's like a puzzle, and every piece seems to fit, but the picture's still unclear.
The pressure's really mounting now. Claire's got all this evidence, alibis that don't add up, and a whole town looking for answers.
That's when a good detective really shines. They don't get bogged down in the chaos.
And Claire's good. But remember, she's not alone. Leela's been working her magic too, tapping into that small-town grapevine.
It's amazing what you can find out just by listening.
And she hit pay dirt. Talking to a local shopkeeper, she learned that multiple people saw Mark Sanders arguing with Sarah at the lake just days before she died.
Wow. So that shadowy figure in the photo, it really was him.
And his alibi falls apart completely. So Clara decides to confront him, see if she can break him.
A classic showdown.
She brings him back to the station, supposedly to clarify a few things about his alibi. But Mark can feel the walls closing in.
Guilty people, they always seem to know, don't they?
He's sweating, fidgeting, won't make eye contact.
Body language tells the story.
And Clara sees it all. She lays out the evidence, piece by piece. The witnesses, the soil samples, the DNA, even those online posts.
Building the pressure.
And then she just goes for it, looks him dead in the eye, and says, "We know you were at the lake. We know you argued with Sarah. And we know you were the last one to see her alive."
What happened?
He cracks, confesses, tells the whole story about how his obsession took over, how her rejections just fueled his raid.
A classic crime of passion. Tragic, really.
He followed her to the lake that day, wanted to make her listen, but she rejected him again and he just snapped.
Wow.
He hit her with a rock, then panicked, moved her body, tried to stage the scene.
Those wildflowers, it's like he was trying to make it beautiful to erase the horror.
So there it is, Mark Sanders, driven to murder by his own twisted desires.
It's a reminder that darkness can hide anywhere.
With his confession and all the evidence, he's arrested and charged with Sarah's murder. The town's in shock,
I bet.
but instead of falling apart, they rally together. Remember Leila's photography project?
Yeah.
It becomes this amazing testament to the town's healing and coming together.
The human spirit is pretty incredible.
And Clara, after all she's been through, finds some closure. But she doesn't stop there. She becomes a big advocate for mental health awareness.
That's amazing. A way to honor Sarah's memory.
So the case is closed, but Sarah's story lives on. It's a story about darkness, yes, but also about hope, about healing, and the power of community.
It makes you think, doesn't it? What can we do in our own towns to make sure everyone feels safe, seen, and heard?
That's a question we all need to ask.